Hey everybody, it's Joe, your host with the most, your Snap DJ, and I'm here with another episode of Snap Decisions. I have with me today, joining the pod, JDMac. JD, how are you today? Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me. Been waiting for somebody to ask me onto their show. I listened to just about all of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big I listen to so much Snap content too. I don't know where I have the time to do stuff for myself. But no, man, I appreciate it. I've seen your stuff on the X, of course. A lot of your comments and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in hearing some of your thoughts on the game and the changes we're seeing to the game and some of the stuff you might want to see. Mostly, a lot of what I'm interested in too is of course, we'll go into how you got into Snap and stuff like that. But you have gotten to take place in leagues.
Yes.
I've been chatting about that a lot on the show lately, and so very interested to hear about that from you and your thoughts on it, because it is a pretty much controversial subject with a lot of folks thinking that it's a pay to win, and people are just kind of avoiding it. So yeah, if you don't mind, can you share some experiences with us? First of all, actually, before I start there, tell everybody where they can find you. I know I found you out on X, but let everybody know where they can find you other than that, if you're anywhere else.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at JDMacDonaldinho. It's spelled just like it sounds. Very easy. Very temperamental with the streams, but maybe one day I'll be pretty regular.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Twitch streamers are great, man. I love it. I would imagine you probably stream at a bit of a different time, right? From our time zone. So when are you streaming, like according to what our time is?
Yeah, so I'm in the UK, so I stream about 7:30 in the morning my time, which is like 2:30 Eastern. So it's not the greatest for NA viewers, but some people are usually still up.
Yeah, night owls like me. I'm usually up until like 2 a.m. a lot of nights, especially if I don't have to work and stuff like that. So there you go. Make sure you check him out. Late night streams are fun. Sometimes they're very, very relaxing, and seeing somebody else play and stuff like that during those hours. So that's awesome. So, well, let me ask you first. How did you get into Marvel Snap? What kind of like a gaming background did you have, or have you played other games prior to Snap, or is it just because you're a Marvel fan?
I've not got a lot of experience in card games before Snap. I played Hearthstone for a few months back in like 2015. I've played a lot of Slay the Spire, which isn't a multiplayer card game. But I was looking for a card game to get into, and I bounced off Magic Arena pretty quickly. I bounced off Runeterra, and I just went on Twitch, and somebody was streaming Marvel Snap, and I'd heard about it in the summer when they were doing their beta, and I went into the stream and it was just launch day, so got hooked right from the beginning.
Oh wow, okay, so you've been playing since the very start of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Were you so yeah, so many people that I've talked to have backgrounds with Hearthstone. I'm more of a Magic guy. I came from paper Magic. We were playing like right after Unlimited came out, the very first set when they had all the broken cards. So I have a Magic background, but yeah, Hearthstone seems to be a place where a lot of people come from, especially because Ben Brode had a lot to do with Hearthstone. They kind of followed him over. But are you a Marvel fan as well?
Yeah, mostly just due to the MCU, but more recently I've been trying to get into some comics as well.
Okay.
I know I got some recommendations off of you for like the new Ultimate stuff.
Oh, it's good.
And I started reading the Avengers run, the Jed Mackay Avengers run last year.
Yep.
I've started on that as well.
That's good stuff, man. Yeah, you'll see that from time to time. Like a lot of people weren't necessarily into the comics, but they've gotten into it from the films and stuff. And yeah, the films are just so big now. It's really a great time to be a Marvel fan or a comic book fan, because you're just seeing a lot of this stuff just starting to come to life. Obviously, we saw the whole Endgame saga. That's over with now. It seems like they're going in a different direction towards Secret Wars and doing some really cool stuff. X-Men Superman 97 has been so good, and things like that. And even DC, you're seeing now, starting over. James Gunn from Marvel going over there and doing some things there. So yeah, that's exciting. What's your favorite MCU movie? Do you have a favorite film?
Might be recency bias, but I really like Guardians 3.
Oh, so yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I think that's like the most recent, like 10 out of 10 movie they've done.
Yeah. Yeah, the movies have been a little tough lately. Some of them were kind of but yeah, Guardians was fantastic. I took my daughter. She cried like a baby. If she was when she was watching the part with Rocket and when they went to that little thing that was kind of like heaven, I guess. Oh my God,
Yeah.
tears just streaming down her face. But yeah, James Gunn does such a wonderful job with that series. Marvel's going to miss him. But I'm looking forward to what he's going to do in DC because I like DC stuff too. And you already seeing glimpses of his Superman and the actor he has to play him and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully he brings that Marvel energy over to there. So yeah, the Guardian stuff's been great. I was never a fan. I really never. I knew they existed from comics and stuff, but I never read them, so I was never really a big fan of them. But man, the first movie, boy, that really sucked me in. That first Guardians film was really, really good, and I was kind of hooked in after that. So good stuff. All right. Well, let me go into let's get into some Snap here, and I want to hear your thoughts about leagues because, like I said, I've been discussing this with almost every guest I've had on over the past couple of weeks. It's a big topic of conversation. In fact, I had a poll out on my channel yesterday, and some of the people who responded to that poll responded negatively to leagues, thinking that they hope that this isn't the game mode that they were talking about that we were getting. So what you've had a chance to do it. So what are your experiences with leagues, if you could share it with everybody?
I would say overall, I do think it's a positive addition for most people because it's an opportunity to just play the game as you would and get a few extra resources. When league's finished, I seen a bunch of other people like on social media who were winning their league with the same amount of points that I had without like paying money or anything. In my league, there was a whale that I just couldn't catch up to. I played like 250 games. So I was like reaching the booster and XP limit on the last day and I couldn't catch them. And I also think it's quite a bit harder to gain points when you're in Infinite. I think before Infinite, you've got a lot more opportunity, like against bots and things, to get some really easy bot points.
Yeah.
But I didn't try it out by playing Conquest, so I know I've seen a few people also kind of talking about how Proving Grounds has changed from like this one round, like just play for 8 cubes in the first round. It changed to like people like really stretching it out because they're trying to grind these points for the leagues as well. Okay.
Yeah, so it's changed the gameplay around a little bit from what people are doing. So, I mean, what do you think of the obviously, you were saying that there were some whales in there that were just paying to win. What do you think about, like, what are the pros and cons of it that you have seen so far? Like, are the rewards decent for what you're doing, or the time that it's not really that you're spending any extra time really than you would be normally playing because you're just kind of normally playing. But I mean, what do you think like are some of the pros and cons of it so far?
There was 30 people in the league, and if you were top 20, you got credits. Top 10 got a mystery variant, and top 5 got a premium variant. Which I think is like half decent. Like you're not having to do anything extra than you were before.
Right.
But I think when it comes to like spending money and stuff, if you're not finishing in first place, like there doesn't really seem to be a point in spending money.
Yeah.
And I think like if leagues come out as they are, as people keep playing like more and more of them, I think I would expect that people just don't spend money on it because it doesn't seem that worthwhile unless they're going to like change the rewards up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Like they're not forcing you to spend money. You know,
Hmm.
people can obviously if they like you're saying they want to be the ones that always want to be first or they want to finish in first. So, but that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, I get it. People are upset that it's just another thing that seems like it's pay to win, but you don't necessarily have to unless you like you were saying really want to get that first place. And the first place award, yeah, you get the spotlight key, right? But other than that, it's not really that much different. I mean, if you finish in the top 5 and you're not necessarily spending the money, you're still getting the premium variant, according to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see. So, I mean, like, you know, as just an overall experience, do you think that you know, with a lot of people saying, and I'm sure you have this and stuff in your streams too, that people were asking for a different game mode. Now, I think that most of them, when they say that, are referring to another game mode aside from Conquest and regular, you know, just regular ladder. But you know, as another option, do you think that this is something that you know, you're happy about, or is this like just a yeah, okay, it's kind of cool, but I would still like to see them come out with, you know, something else bigger, like a draft mode or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I know I would play another mode. I would put time into another mode, but obviously they're gonna know better. Like if they think people are actually gonna spend time in it, and I think there's like examples from other games as well where they put new modes in and then they don't really retain many players.
Yeah.
As for leagues, I think a lot of the backlash to the monetization side of it is just like it is kind of a mobile game feature, leagues.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just don't think of Marvel Snap as a mobile game.
Hmm. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, you know what? That's you might have something there because yeah, I mean, I don't sometimes I don't really understand. Look, I get it. I totally get that the, you know, they've been coming down on us with the, you know, the last couple patches, right? With the borders and stuff that you could buy and with the, you know, with the emotes that cost a lot that you could buy and stuff. But I've said this too, it's not really that different from any other mobile game. Like mobile games have a lot of cosmetics. They have a lot of extra stuff because they're, you know, you can log into this game, be completely free, not spending a dime on it. You just can. You can play that way. Are you going to necessarily get to top a ladder like that? Probably not, unless you're an extremely good player,
Sure.
but you can do that. So you're not forced to do that now. But again, like, I mean, going back to even something as simple as Candy Crush, you pay to get extra levels. If you want to advance, you pay them 99 cents. This has been going on for the longest time.
Yep.
So I don't really understand like what the backlash is necessarily. I get it. I understand it's hard in today's economy to, you know, to make room to pay, but it is a mobile game, like you said, and maybe you're right. Maybe people just aren't thinking about it that way.
Yeah. Well, from from my perspective, like I've always avoided mobile games because
Mhm.
of like the how they monetize them. And you know, I didn't come to Marvel Snap because it's a mobile game. I came to it because it's a card game, and there's like when you look at the community, there's a lot of people from other card games in Marvel Snap. Um, and you know Ben Brode as well being a part of it. So I think when people like see these mobile game monetization stuff, I think they yeah, they feel like a sort of way about it because they're not used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be right. But I mean, they're even bringing this into games, you know, video games. I just talked about this on the podcast that I did, the earlier podcast, the audio one I did today. They're bringing this into video games too.
Yeah.
You're seeing it more and more. Like I was a big Warcraft player, so you're playing Warcraft. They're bringing in monetization stuff. They have those, you know, right when you sign in, they have these things, or you want this cool mount, or do you want this cool outfit and stuff like that. You're paying for that. You know, even video game systems. You know, I'm I'm a big RPGer, so I play a lot of Final Fantasy. Well, even in there, when you finish the game, they're adding levels, they're putting more stuff in there, outfits and such, and different things. So video games, I think, as a whole, have changed in the fact that they take so long to make some of these games, sometimes 3 years, 4 years to develop them. And then when they get them out and the game, let's say the game is only maybe, people take a day or so to finish it. Well, there it goes. All that work, it's done unless they start putting some different things in that's going to keep players coming back to that game for a little while until they can develop the next one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's a great way to look at it, because it's not. I think people really have to realize that it's not just mobile that's doing this. Mobile is a big culprit of it because again, they're smaller games, but it is everywhere. You do see this in a lot of other places. So, well, that's awesome. I appreciate that little insight in and look into leagues. Is the testing done over there now?
Yeah, that's it. Finished. It finished on Friday, I think.
Okay.
It was just up for a couple of days.
Okay, but everything seemed to run well with it. Like, were there any bugs in it or anything like that you saw?
No, not any bugs that I seen. No.
Okay. So I would imagine it's probably going to be coming out pretty soon. Then I would think, maybe like within the next few weeks or so, with a bigger patch that we'll get. So how is the game? How's the game been for you? Like, because I've gotten a lot of people in that little poll I put out yesterday have mentioned that the game's been kind of like glitchy and doesn't run so well. So with the leagues thing that you had, how was the game running? Did it look like it was running any worse or anything like that with it?
So I play mostly just on PC, and it was running just as fine as normal.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll load it up on the iPad, and it's fine there.
Okay.
The only really issues I have is when I'll load it up on my phone to check the shop or something, or to get like a screenshot of a variant or something.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a bit slow on the phone.
Okay. What kind of a phone do you have? An iPhone or an Android?
I have an Android,
Android
Pixel 7 Pro.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed it on mobile too. I mean, I have a 15 Pro Max iPhone, so but I've noticed it on there. I've noticed it even on my iPad. But that said, my iPad's old. My iPad's like 5-6 years old, so it's getting to the point where it doesn't have a lot of memory on it, and it just doesn't run it well. But that could very well be because my iPad is older. But yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that that you're not seeing any differences of gameplay or anything like that, or crashing and things. So that's good. That's good to hear. But yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for all the info for that. So. I want to get into, so yesterday we got series drops, which is cool. A lot of people have been asking for these. And of course, they have series 4 to series 3, and then of course, series 5 to series 4. So I'm going to go over each of these cards with you really quick. I unfortunately don't have a slide to stick up there for this because it happened just before I was doing my recording this week, but we'll go through them one by one. So let's start off with the series 4 down to series 3 cards. So first is Martyr. Martyr, of course, being at 1-5, she has that little drawback where she could lose you the game, but she's been in some decks now where if you just want to get early priority, she's really good with that. If you're playing Professor X, she's good in a lane like that, just to give you that 5 power, and then she's obviously not going to go anywhere. So, what's your thoughts on Martyr?
Martyr is the only, or no, also Hercules. These are the only 2 cards I don't own.
Oh, okay, all right. You're probably not alone there. People really didn't go for Martyr, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm at 17,000 collection level, and I will be opening a Series 3 card in Martyr.
Well, hey, there you go. You'll get collection complete at least that way.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I was saying yesterday, I think I'm one of the only people who might have that variant for Martyr. That it's just a really cool variant with a lot of there's pictures of other characters and stuff on the card behind her. And I'm like, I doubt anybody. I was saying at one point that might be the rarest variant in the game because nobody bought the card to begin with. So, well, all right, there you go. So we'll move on to Silver Samurai is one of the next ones. Again, very niche kind of card. He gets played, in certain discard decks. He showed up a little bit in mill decks lately too, I would think. But what do you think of Silver Samurai dropping down to Series 3?
Yeah, he's not the most like optimum discard card. He's
Right.
had like his time before, and I'm sure he'll have his time again. Like it's not a bad card.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really, I mean, decent. It can really mess up your opponent, right? If it discards the card that they
Yeah.
really needed or looking forward to using. So yeah, for sure. I agree with you on that. We got Howard the Duck. I mean, I've seen him in a list that just got put out on online yesterday. I can't remember who has it out there. It's a tribunal deck that has Howard in it, and it's actually not half bad. He's pretty good in there if you're just searching for that combo that you want to
Yep.
get. You want to pull that Iron Man, or you want to pull that tribunal card itself, or onslaught. It's pretty good because at least you can kind of see what you're going to get, knowing whether or not you snap or not with what you have. So he's not. I'd like to see him be better than what he is. I don't know that they're going to change him or fix him, but he doesn't go in very many decks. That tribunal deck he happens to be good in, but other than that, what do you think of the Duck?
I've seen him in a couple of lists that run the Tribunal combo, but also have like a Galactus in there as well, because your Iron
Ooh.
Lad can just hit a Galactus.
Yeah.
I pulled Howard the Duck out of a cache when it was Series 5.
Yeah, I think I did too.
Yeah.
Here you're like, oh, okay. You know what? To tell you the truth, I'm a Galactus lover. I love Galactus. If I can find any excuse to play it, I will. When Howard first came out, I thought, ooh, he's going to be good in a Galactus deck. I could see whether Galactus is coming up or not. And then of course Iron Lad too mixes very well with that, because if you have your Iron Lad and you have Galactus coming up next, you're like, oh, this is going to be a sneaky Galactus with 6 power. I can do this. This is awesome. Yeah, that's cool though. I had no clue there was a tribunal list with Galactus. Ooh, I may have to try that.
And then you can just play your Iron Man, your Onslaught, and then that's you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I may have to give that a shot. That's great. Howard has some cool variants too. There's a really cool comic book variant with him with the Infinity Gauntlet. That's really neat. So we'll see. I don't know, but anyway, he's moving to Series 3, so more people will get a chance to play him. Next we have Mirage. Mirage, Cable can do what she does, but she is kind of a staple in Loki, right? If you're a Loki player, pretty good card for a Loki deck.
Yeah, I prefer Cable.
Yeah,
because you can like pull like one of their key cards.
Yep.
But Mirage is like in just as many Loki decks. I think is a very good card, and for it to get put to Series 3, like is pretty decent.
Yeah, free card, right? Not why not? And then we end up here with Echo. Echo. There are ongoing decks that are in the meta now. I've played one. They're getting to be pretty good. I mean, that one in particular with Jean Grey and Ant-Man and Mojo, you're filling up that lane, and then you've got Spectrum to boost them all up. It's a pretty decent deck. And this card, people play this card, and I still today I forget it's there. I just forget it's there. And then I end up playing something on. I'm like, why is this not working? And I'm like, oh, and I just forgot about the card. So this is a sneaky card that's very good when you end up getting a meta where there's a lot of ongoing stuff in it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about trying to run Echo because there's a lot of like Patriot lists that run Invisible Woman.
Yes.
And they'll stack their ongoings behind there. But then it's like, are you running into that enough to have Echo in your deck? And it was good when Miss Marvel was really popular. You always knew you could just put it in the middle and it would do a job.
Yep. Yeah, very true. And those new Patriot lists, they're the ones using Ultron, probably, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're stacking the lane. They'll just stack basically that one lane with all their ongoing stuff and have Onslaught in there. And then they'll put the Ultron out last turn to fill both of those other lanes with the bots. So yeah, it is a good card for that. You put her out and she'll really stop all the ongoing stuff there. So yeah, it's kind of a meta based card, and whatever the meta happens to have at that time, like you were saying, saying, Ms. Marvel, if Ms. Marvel ever does come back into the meta in a big way, it's perfect for that because they do have to play her in the middle to really be effective. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. I liked her series too. They had a series that came out with her recently
Oh
on
yeah, I've
Disney
not
Plus.
watched that yet.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Plus, I mean, I love D'Onofrio as Kingpin from the Daredevil
Yeah.
series, so he's just fantastic. But yeah, so they're the 4s to 3s. So we're going to go to Series 5 to Series 4, and we'll start from the bottom left and go up to the top. So
Sure.
first we have Celine. Celine has a very cool variant that just came out not that long ago, a portrait variant of her on a comic book cover. Obviously, she works very well in junk. And that's
Yeah.
kind of been her staple, right? Like I've used her in Galactus decks too because she'll make the goblins better. Your green goblin or your hobgoblin, if you have that in your hand, will get 3 points better. So that's pretty good for that kind of a deck. But not really used much, even in junk, right? The people kind of have other cards that they use in there, so she's really not used a whole lot. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Celine?
I've not ran Celine in a while. Not since I was doing like a Galactus type list where, like you said, you run the goblins, and like back when Alioth was a 2 power, you could hit it with Celine, and then your Ravona reduces the cost of it, which could be kind of sneaky sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not too popular a card, but I guess it's good that they're reducing it in series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the best card in this list for sure, but who knows? Maybe down the road she'll find a home somewhere, and where people will want to use her a little bit more. Junk is still a big part in the meta,
Yeah.
so you never know. She could find her way back into that. The next one is pretty exciting. I think honestly, of the cards that we've gotten, this one is maybe close to the best one we're seeing go down. Gladiator. He is just a fantastic card. Since they buffed him, he's mostly going to just get rid of a card for you. Sure, you'll have the time where he's going to be cursing because he can't kill the card that he pulls out, but he's just a very good card in a lot of decks. And even if you don't, even if you mess with him, he's still a good value. He's a 3/8, and that's a good value in Marvel Snap. So what are your thoughts on Gladiator?
Yeah, he's played in a lot of lists, and not many cards are worth like the full 6,000 tokens, but Gladiator is definitely worth 3,000 tokens.
Yeah.
Like if this is in your shop and you have the tokens, like it's definitely worth a pickup.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. He's still, like you were saying, in a lot of lists that are out there. He will show up just in those good cards lists, and yeah, for sure, he's definitely worth a pickup for that, no doubt. The next one over is Nebula. I love Nebula. I have used this card so much in so many decks, just because you put her down in turn 1. She's going to force your opponent to play in that lane in a lot of ways, whether they want to or not, because they don't want the card to scale. She's also amazing in lockdown decks. If you put her in a Professor X lane or something, you're just winning the lane, unless they have some way, another way to get into that. But Nebula is awesome. I loved her since they released her, and I think she's a great card.
Yes, a really great card for getting put down to Series 4. Really good in the clog lists. Like you just put this down and they want to play in there, and then you just attack that lane as well with like White Widow, a Goblin, Debris, and yeah, you can fill that lane really quickly.
Yep, absolutely. She has some great variants too, Nebula does. We move on here to Silk is the next one. Now we've gotten Silky Smooth back. So we have Angela. They of course buffed her. She's better now. You're getting the Angela Kitty combination back, and there are people playing this type of deck with Silk and Spider-Man and Kraven. I've seen it a bunch in the meta. So what do you think of the Silk move down?
I was a really big fan of Silk. I think now though, it just doesn't quite make the cut. But I suppose if you don't have all the cards, then it's definitely like worth running if you want to run that deck. But I think like when the deck started to come back, I was playing it with Silk, and it just didn't quite feel like it was enough. Like the way it was moving, like it used to not be a problem. Like you were just trying to get stats down anywhere. But now it's kind of like the way it moves around, it just felt awkward.
Hmm. Okay. What did you put in for it? Did you substitute a card in for it in that deck list?
Yeah, well, I think like just some of the cards that have come out since that deck was in the meta, like Hope Summers
Yeah.
and Elsa and all these other cards. Like I think there's enough that it's you're having to like pick and choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, Next up, we have Jean Grey. Now, I was just talking about that ongoing list. Jean wasn't seeing a whole lot of play. She is now with that one, and that list is kind of brutal. And if you get her down, I find that in that list, if I don't get her or draw her, it really makes the list a lot weaker. If you get her down on curve, that other player is gonna like I wrecked destroy decks that have to do that because they don't want to play in that one lane over and over and over again. They want to
Yeah.
spread the power. They'll do the Carnage thing, move the Deadpool, and then they'll spread it to another lane, do the Venom in the other lane. They don't want to do it all in the same lane. But she can really wreck decks. I mean, if they want to spread that out and they can't, it's very tough. And her ability is very, very good in that ongoing list. Prior to that, she wasn't being played all that much. So it's good to see her getting some play. I think there's room for her in certain types of decks. And maybe as it goes, and now that the card will being dropped down and more people will have it, maybe people will figure out a little bit more that she's really good, and they'll figure out other deck types to play her in.
Yeah, I really like Jean Grey. I think it was the first Spotlight card, and I have the Spotlight variant, the Art Germ.
Yeah,
I do like the ongoing list, and it does like you can play this against like Sentry Annihilist decks. Like you just play this on the right on turn 3. They can't play their Sentry. Yeah, I'd like to see it in more lists because I think it's a really interesting effect. Although it is bugged right now, or it has been bugged for ages now with Super Scroll, where if you play Super Scroll to copy the effect, like you still have to play in Jean's lane. You can't play into Super Scroll's lane first.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't play much Super Scroll. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea that was bugged. Wow. Okay. Interesting. We'll go to Tribunal, obviously. Now, this is a little weird because he's in the Spotlight caches today.
Yeah.
So, a little weird with that one. The variant that's out today is awesome, though. I wasn't going to open caches today, but I think I'm going to now because the Tribunal variant and the variant for Legion are amazing.
Yeah.
So, I might just end up opening caches. But yeah, Tribunal, listen, that list with Iron Man, with Onslaught, with Mystique, or however you choose to play it. One of the best lists to win games with. I mean, if you get that combo off and people aren't playing Enchantress, which you're not really seeing much in the meta, you're not really seeing a whole lot of Rogue. If they're not doing that and you pop that off, there's no one that's going to beat you.
Yeah, it's a lot of points, and there's you run up against this deck sometimes and you just won't have a counter, and it's just you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And even still, like, I am starting to see a bit more Enchantress, but like it's still quite rare. There are some other counters to it, like US Agent and Red Guardian for the Iron Man.
Right.
But you can even run it in like other lists, like it's getting run in like Phoenix Force lists.
Yep.
And stuff as well. And
Hella lists have had it too.
Yeah, I think this is maybe like the most relevant card right now that's getting dropped down.
Yeah, it's a very good one. You can like like you were saying, it's been in other lists just except besides that Iron Man one. Yeah, that Iron Man one. If you that's one of your conditions where you just need to leave a match. If you know they're playing with a rogue or an enchantress, you're gonna get wrecked. They're gonna just wreck that lane. So you just gotta get out because there's really nothing you could do about it at that point. But yeah, it's a great card, and it's funny because when this card first came out, everybody's looking at it like this card's bad. I'm just not going to touch this card. It's not good. But now with the meta we have, right, with all of the big power meta that everybody's playing now, and they want to just get all the big power out and the hella with all the big stuff, and that you're right, it is very relevant now, whereas in the past it didn't used to be. Yeah, that's a great comment. And then lastly, well, we're not ending on a great note here, I guess. Hercules, oh boy. This card just isn't good. It's just
Yeah,
not good.
I couldn't tell you anything about this card. I don't have it.
I
I've
don't
never
blame you
played
for that
against
one.
it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
blame you for that. I have it and I've never played it. It's first off, I'm not a move guy. I'm not a
Mhm.
move fan. I know people that love move that have tried this card in move and they don't even like it. They take it out of the move list. So they'll play like Spider-Man 2099 now before they play this
Yeah.
card. So yeah,
That's saying something.
it's not good. It's a shame. He's a cool character in Marvel. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of those ones where, and they've tried already with it to rework the points and stuff, but this card may need a rework at some point overall, I think, to maybe make it better. So yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There's the series drops. They are coming soon for all players. So I mean, overall, I think it's kind of exciting, right? That at least they're doing that. I know people needed something maybe a little bit good, a little bit not monetary as an announcement to come out. So overall, I think this is a pretty good time to make that announcement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we're going to go over some other stuff here. I'm going to pull up. Figure we would go over some of the cards. Of course, that I'm going to go over some of the cards we already have, and of course, this week's card with you too. So first, I'll start with Blink. Obviously, the season pass card. We all know she's a 5/7 now on reveal. Swap the last card you played with a higher cost card from your deck. What are your experiences with Blink so far? I love the card. I think she's really good. That Jubilee combo, oh man, it's so good. Swapping her out, and yeah, what are your thoughts on Blink so far, and how have you liked the card?
Yeah, I first thought that like with this card we would just see like a bunch of ramp, a bunch of like Hela, a bunch of Jubilee. But I think it's just really changed up how some of these other decks are built. Like you're seeing like Darkhawk decks with Jubilee and with Leech now. And it's kind of just making it more consistent to get more stats on the board. Like you're even seeing people run Quicksilver and Domino in decks to sort of keep the bigger costs in your deck as well.
Yep. Yep. What are you using like primarily as a deck that you might play? Do you have any decks that you're playing that you use her primarily in? And I want to get your thoughts too on Leech. So yeah, let me know what decks you're using her in, and then I want your thoughts on the Leech card overall and the nerf to Leech, or not nerf but buff actually to Leech.
So most recently I've been running like the Darkhawk list.
Okay.
And it's you have like Darkhawk, Doom, Red Hulk, and you're playing your Leech, you're playing like your Rock Slide or something and swapping it out. And yeah, it just gets a lot of points down. And you can even like I've seen people run it with like I've seen people play Kitty Pride Blink on the last turn and it pulls like Enchantress and turns off your Patriot. It doesn't seem oppressive, but it is a pretty good card, and I think it's a really good season pass card.
Yeah, I would agree. I do too. I actually got off a play with her and I wanted to try it. I knew it wasn't going to probably work very well, but I did manage to do it. I played her in it was essentially a junk list, but I stuck Galactus in there as the only 6. And I'm like, I want to just try this. I ended up playing a Spider Woman down on turn 5. So I threw that in a lane where they had a lot of their little cards, and I nailed it with the Spider Woman. And then I pulled the Blink out and blinked Galactus into the Spider Woman lane. Oh, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing.
I think the first, I was watching streams when Blink came out, and the first game I seen was Wave into Blink into Galactus.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, it's so good. It's a combo that, like I said, you're very seldom ever gonna. You almost have to have it in a list where you have other plans. Like the Annihilus list is fine because you're gonna get Annihilus and stuff like that, and most of the time you're gonna play the game with that. But man, just getting that to happen and blink him in was like beautiful. It was, but yeah, she's so good, man. She just will pull out like that list you were talking about. That Darkhawk list is very good, by the way, with the Red Hulk in there and the Doom in there, and then you blink one of those 2 in, and that Red Hulk comes out or that Doom comes out, and 9 times out of 10 you're winning that game. Darkhawk is very underrated, and I think people were like, when they saw that Second Dinner was making another adjustment to him, people are like, how can this be? They're saying that this card is so good. But I'll tell you what, I played that list a little bit over the past few days, and the power of that Rock Slide and Korg getting their rocks into those decks that are so reliant on big last turn plays like Hela or like any other thing. The Patriot lists are so reliant on Patriot, and you're not allowing them to get that stuff out. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it gets a lot of stats out, and then it's just disruptive enough that it like messes with the combo decks.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think people necessarily take that into consideration. It's like they think, well, Darkhawk's good. He can be like a big number card, but they're really not thinking about the rocks that you're loading up their deck with. That's a big deal, especially when you're waiting for like one certain card. So
yeah, I was playing in a like a small tournament with. I was using Hela. This was like a few weeks ago now, and I played against Gnome, and it's basically his fault that Darkhawk's getting nerfed again. It's him that's kind of popularized this deck. And I played against him, and he would just send me some rocks, and he would just snap, and it was like he knew that I didn't have nothing.
Yep. Yeah, Gnome. I think Gnome was just on. Was he on Snap Judgment's podcast? I just listened to him.
So.
Yes, he's the big Darkhawk guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was listening to that show. I'm like, yep. Okay. Yeah. He's solely responsible for the return of Darkhawk. Listen, Darkhawk's going to have a feast if people play that Arishem card. I could tell you right now. Darkhawk's going to be crazy numbers.
Yeah, I've even seen like a bunch of Thanos. Like I was playing today, and I was playing against a bunch of Thanos, and I'm running Darkhawk. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You wouldn't think Thanos would be around that much anymore, but who knows? I mean, he has Psylocke back again where it used to be, so they can have that back in the deck. And that deck always, like with the Mockingbird and Cull and all that kind of stuff, is probably always relevant. I just don't. I've tried to play it. I don't like the fact that Thanos starts in your hand now.
Yeah,
that really gets in the way.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Well, even when you are winning, I think Glazer talked about this. He was getting people to play the deck, and they were winning with it, but it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's weird that he's there. I want to stop it for a moment, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Thanos, because I've asked other people about this too. They're obviously saying that they're going to make the stones more Thanos centric, right? They're going to make Thanos more playable. I'm all for that. I love Thanos as a character, so make his card better with the stones, because technically that's more like what the lore would be anyway of the card. And really, Thanos was never played. No one played him. I don't care if he was there were times when he was a 20 in my hand and I didn't play him because I had a better options. So yeah, I mean, if you could develop the stones, or if you could change the stones, what would you do with those stones to make Thanos better? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I do really like the idea of like Thanos being like an Exodia type card where you play like all the stones, all the pieces, and then Thanos is like his own win condition almost. I would also like to see them maybe do something similar to that with Adam Warlock. Ooh. Give him some stones, give him the gauntlet as well, and make them like do something else. And then have like you play all of them, and then a different effect happens for Adam Warlock than it does with Thanos.
That's cool, right? Because in the lore, I mean, Adam. That's why I really am upset that Adam Warlock is so bad, because he's such a great character.
Yeah.
And there was a whole big thing. He was involved in that whole Gauntlet storyline. Of course, the Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, pretty big. So, that would be great. I've thought of some different things. I know the stuff I have in my head are way overpowered, but I thought like could you imagine, like, if he collects all the stones, right? You have an animation of a gauntlet being full appear on the screen, and then a snap. Now, I mean, this is perfect for the game anyway, because it's Marvel Snap. It's sticking on that. And then when the snap happens, randomly each player loses, they get some of their cards dusted just randomly. Let's say they lose 2 or 3 cards off the board. I know they would never do it because people would hate it because they're like,
Yeah,
well,
like
now this
Gambit on
sucks. Yeah.
steroids.
But I think it would be neat to, like you were saying, to just like have, I don't know whether they should make like a gauntlet card maybe, or something along those lines. But and the stones could maybe do different things for Thanos. Like maybe one of the stones makes him invincible, where he can't
Yeah.
be destroyed. One of the stones gives him a negative effect on the other cards in the lane, or something, like stuff like that. I think that's what I would think. I would hope that they would think to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. All right. Well, yeah, Blink is good. If you haven't gotten it already, go out and get the season pass. It literally is. I know, again, there's a lot of people have money issues, and they're trying to be as free to play as you can, which I totally understand that. But if there is one thing you can get for the month, pick up the season pass. It really is a good value for what you get. And of course, the season pass cards have been really good lately.
Yeah, although they did front load the weekend missions this season. They like put all the gold or something in the first week, in the first weekend mission. So I seen a couple of people who like play at a pretty high level that are pretty close to free to play. They don't buy many season passes, but they were like, "Oh, I gotta get the season pass because it's all the gold is at the start of the month."
Yeah, well, that's maybe another reason to get them to buy the season pass. Yeah, sure, but she is definitely worth it. Definitely a good card to pick up for sure. And so we'll go to the next one here. We've got Nocturne is going to be up next. She is, of course, a 3/5. I love the design of this card. I love it. I love how they added the Scarlet Witch and Nightcrawler's statistics together to make this. So 1, 2, and 2, 3 becomes a 3/5. She has both of their powers, and of course, she is the daughter of both of them in another Marvel universe. But yeah, it's a 3/5. You can move this once, so similar to Jeff. When this moves, replace the location with a random new one. Let me tell you, I didn't get a chance to play with this very much. Over the past 2 days, I have. She's been in decks of what they are like considering Binks. I was watching Binks' stream. He had a really good, just like good cards deck with her in it. Very similar to the Darkhawk your list you're talking about, because he had Red Hulk and Doom in there. But he put her in there, and I'll tell you what, she's won me countless games. Countless. Just from people playing that Patriot list, and they want magic. And they're putting magic out there. She turns off that list. And even if you don't turn it off, her presence on the board makes them play faster to think, they're going to shut off that limbo. What am I going to do? So I don't know. I like these location manipulation cards, her and Legion, and of course, even Quake now. I don't know. She's a pretty sneaky good card. She's not as good as Blink. But she's very good at what she does.
Yeah, I'll put my hands up. I'll say I wasn't really feeling Nocturne before it came out.
Okay.
Like I seen a lot of people like super hyped up for this card, thinking it was going to be in every deck, which I mean it almost is. And so just like the way my brain works, it makes me like I'm a contrarian. I just want to see that when people are like something, I want to dislike it. So I was just like, they've just stuck two other cards together for flavor. It's not actually going to be that good. Like, moving, like the reason you want to move cards is so you can get into unplayable locations, which just like doesn't really synergize with. But yeah, it is just a really good card.
Yeah. Like I said, not better than Blink for sure. But she has found a home in certain decks, and like I said, people just don't get it. That location manipulation can really kill your deck. Like she's moved over, and I've had the locations pop up where it does the negative power to each one of the cards that's in that lane. there you go. Automatically, you're moving cards over. You're winning that lane now all of a sudden because of what she does. She's brought up the Sanctum where people can't play cards in that lane anymore. So you just don't know. It's going to be completely random, and you can get screwed too by it. There's no doubt.
I think I'm probably 50-50 with it.
Yeah, there's no doubt you can get messed up for too. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. But it's funny. So far, at least what I've seen, I think the threat of her, especially for people looking to extend the game with the Magic, so your Loki decks sometimes, your high Evo lists that play Magic, that want to extend the game, she's very good against that, because then they're always thinking like, oh man, I got to speed up my gameplay or they're going to shut the game down, where my Magic gets, the limbo gets taken away. So yeah.
And even though you can't like when they have limbo on the board, even though you can't hide the fact that you can turn that off, you have to have Nocturne on the board on turn 5 to make use of it. And it still just works really good at turning that off and catching people off guard.
Yep. It's just like that play that people used to do with Legion. Whenever they'd see that they'd have a lane out there that was limboed, they'd play Legion and get rid of the limbo. And very, very similar to that. So so that is Nocturne. We'll move on here, and we've got today's card. This is Sage. Sage is a 3/0 that, of course, was changed. She's an on reveal. She's +2 power for each different power among all other cards here. I think people weren't really reading this correctly, or at least some of the people that have talked to me about it. This is both sides of the board.
Yeah.
She can kind of get big, in certain decks. Now, I'm not saying she's a great card. She's still I think of all the cards that I've rated this month, she's probably 4th on my list. So she's not one of the great cards, but if she's in a proper deck, like if you play her in a Wong deck or, that on reveal type list with White Tigers, stuff like that, and, she can get to be pretty powerful, especially with the, again, that whole condition of, the different power among others in both lanes and on both sides of the board.
Yeah, you do have to hold on to it till later in the game.
Yes.
It's not a card you want to see in your hand early. But at the same time, it can really swing a lane at the end of the game. Again, I don't know if it'll be a great card. I'm sure. I think it'll be fine, this card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to your point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't watch Glazer's, I think it's his most recent video, or one of his most recent videos, but he's talking about, the title was talking about how Sage might be the new Hit Monkey.
Yes, that's his video from today. I did get to see it earlier. Yeah. I mean, it could be a possibility, right? Like you were saying, it's a card that you have to kind of play similar to Hit Monkey. You hold it until the end of the game, and maybe even a lot of times you may not want necessarily to have priority as well when you do it. So it's going to be a little bit of a tricky card to play. And he was talking about it in that, I think he had a list there, a couple different lists that people made that he showed as well to play her in. You can certainly see where the card could kind of get big, especially if you hold off until later in the game or close to the last turn of the game. It could be, like you said, something that just swings a lane and ends up winning a game for you at the end of the game.
Yeah, if you're playing Surfer, you've got your Shaw down, you've got your Brood filling up one lane, and then you can stick this in another to really stack a lane.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see how many points you're getting from the opponent side of the board.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Ultron around.
True.
And it'll be interesting to see how much the opponent side of the board plays into you getting this most out of this card.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could always kind of you can kind of mess with that a little bit. Like if you want to play a card that's going to, like White Widow, let's say you throw that White Widow, you throw that over to their side, that Widow's Kiss, and at least you have that one that's going to differentiate maybe from some of the other stuff that they're putting in there. But that's true. It's going to depend. And like you said, Patriot's so big now, and that Ultron list is going to just fill those lanes with those bots that are all the same power. It's a good point.
But especially in the first couple of days, who's going to be playing around Sage?
That's that's true. I don't know that she's going to see. yeah, she's definitely not going to be, I don't think, as popular as Blink is, or probably as popular as Nocturne is. But yeah, this could be one of those cards that may pop up from time to time in metas that people figure out the on reveals and stuff. Plus, not to mention, people are playing some of these just good card decks where they have Red Guardian, or they might have a Cosmo in their deck, and that's of course going to completely just do away with this. Same as Leech. Somebody plays Leech, this card's useless.
Yeah, it's a
So
3-0.
yeah, you're stuck with the 3-0. It's like, oh man, you can't even play it for power at that point. So yeah, it may be something very meta dependent. It may not be something that might be played in the current meta, but who knows? Well, it might be somewhere down the road
Yeah.
that she might get played, and she might kind of see her day. So
But
all right.
they've also put it in the spotlight caches with like the 2 best variants this season
They
as well.
absolutely did. Yeah, there's no doubt. I was doing my my opener token thing today on the podcast, and I was like, this is one I would definitely recommend people open for because of the other cards that are with her, because of Legion and because of Tribunal. So yeah, no doubt. The rest of the spotlight caches are pretty weak. So gee, wonder if whether or not they might want to get people to get Sage. So interesting way to do it, I guess. All right, let's talk about Sasquatch, the big winter Bigfoot guy here. He's a 6'10", costs 1 less for each card you played last turn. Oh my gosh, our bounce player is going to love this.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a big boy in bounce lists. So, and I know Glazer's a huge bounce lover. I know he's going to be playing this game, or this card for sure. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Sasquatch?
Yeah, I'm not a big bounce player either.
Me neither.
But I've seen people talking about like you stick like Hit Monkey under an invisible woman, and then you can still get the payoff at the end. And yeah, I guess does this take the space of like an Iron Man or something? Because you can't run Bast in your bounce list if you're running Sasquatch, I think.
No, you can't. Yeah, because you don't want him to be a 6'3". Yeah, that'd be bad. Yeah, that's true. And a lot of times those lists want to run that, especially if they're playing like they're playing Mysterio or something like that. You want the clones to be a 3. So yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to run a bounce list with Bass, that's for sure.
Yeah, this will be one I need to like wait and see how it runs, because I'm not really a big bounce player.
Yeah, no, there's a few decks, and it's funny, but there's a few decks in this game that I often refer to them as big brain decks. And the reason I do that is because I just like Move. I've mentioned it earlier. I will not play Move because my brain is not big enough to do all the calculations that I need to do, to worry about that kind of thing. And then Bounce is kind of similar. You really have to be a pretty good strategist in order to play Bounce. It's a lot of manipulation of not only just points and where to play stuff, but also whether or not you want priority or not. In most cases, you don't. So you kind of have to play that where, all right, I'm going to put some of these cards down, but I don't want priority. I want to have that last turn where I could just explode and put all that power down and they can't do anything about it. So yeah, I was never big into it either, but I know a lot of people like it. So Darkhawk too. Darkhawk has a bounce list that's out there as well that people like to play. So yeah, so we'll see. This could be a resurgence of bounce. He's just another big stat numbers card that we see usually once a month now, but we'll see how he plays. I think he can be very good in certain lists, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm similar to you. For me, I don't know if he's going to make that big of a difference because I'm not a big bounce player. So, all right. Lastly, oh boy, she is the lowest one on my list, unfortunately. Namora. Namora is a 5/6. Again, not a great stat line. On reveal, give +5 power to each of your cards alone at other locations. I really just don't see. Now, I know I had Lauren on here with me. She was talking about, like, imagine the possibility of playing her in the middle and then stacking an armor, having an armor in one lane, to the left and then having a Cosmo in the other lane, and have her giving them both the 5 power. And then in that middle lane, you can also maybe play let's say you play a Spectrum or you play a Claw, and you're building up those other cards, and nothing can be done about it because you can't do anything to a Cosmo. You can't do anything really to an armor other than using Shadow King. So it's a weird card for sure. Like you can play like Orca with this, right? Orca goes into one lane, he's pretty big, and then gonna get the bonus from her. But I don't know, man. Especially in the meta today, I don't see this card being good.
Yeah, one of the hard things about, so I don't know if Glazer messages you asking about like the new cards coming out, asking you to rate them and stuff.
Yes, the ratings. Yeah.
But one of the hard things about doing that is you don't know what the meta is going to look like in a few weeks when this card comes out. And yeah, like you said, like Nomura doesn't go in any decks that are being played right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like, I think a lot of interest in this card comes from people like realizing that it's not an ongoing like the other Atlantean cards.
Yep.
So like you could, like, you're giving Jeff 5 power, like, that's pretty nice. You're giving Professor X 5 power, like that's pretty nice.
Yeah, lockdown for sure, Professor X.
Yeah, I guess it just depends. So like people are just playing a lot of cards, so can you do more than that by giving 2 cards 5 extra power?
Yeah. I think I'd like to see a stat bump with her if they're going to start there. If she was maybe like a 5/8, let's say, give her 2 points of power, make her a little bit better that way, and then maybe people might be a little more inclined to play her. But yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, hell, if she was ongoing, which would be fantastic, I would play Galactus with her in a heartbeat. I mean, it just gives that extra power to Galactus. Play him in that lane. He gets a +5. I mean, that would be that in a heartbeat. I'd play that. But yeah, I don't know. I think just the stat line. If this is probably going to be a candidate for an early buff, I would think, because I think she's going to be the least favorite card of most people in this month. And if they just do bump her stats up a little bit, a 5/6 is pretty bad. Like a lot of times when you see cards like this, they might even be a 5/7. But yeah, 5/6 is pretty rough, and I really don't know where you're going to see this played very much.
I think you're wanting to do like Miss Marvel, Doctor Doom stuff to get the most out of this card. So I guess it just depends what the rest of that deck looks like, because it can only buff a card if it's on its own.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so there's the cards. That is what we've got coming up in the rest of this month. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to talk to you about this. Obviously, well, a couple things first. So, have you seen the Eternals film when it came out?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, you're probably the perfect person I want to talk to about this then, because next month is the Eternals month. So I'm going to pop this card up here just for the heck of it. We'll talk about him in a minute. But you're a perfect person to ask this question to. So, not the most popular movie Marvel's ever done. I watched it. It was okay. I didn't hate it. Some people enjoyed it more than others. I don't think I'd ever have the tendency to want to watch it again. And some of those Marvel movies I've seen over and over and over and over. So interest in the subject matter for when they come out with a season pass, I think it's a big thing. You've got to get people interested kind of in the subject matter a little bit, even if, yes, it's all Marvel property. But like in July, we have the Deadpool season coming, which of course
that one's going to be big.
Huge, because it's going to coincide with the movie, which is very smart. You want to do that if you're a content or a developer, because you want to take advantage of that. But yeah, that's going to be a humongous month with Gwenpool and with the Deadpool variant, and then with, of course, Cassandra, who is Deadpool's villain in that film. But I don't know. This one, to me, I think you're going to be in between a couple different months there, and then looking forward to Young Avengers, which already people have seen that, and that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. For someone like you who's never seen the film and going to these characters, these characters came out, oh my gosh, a while back, and I really never read a lot of those comics because they were from late 60s, early 70s. When these characters were first introduced, they were brought over. Jack Kirby with the New Gods from DC and wanted to make something similar to that. But having not seen the film, and I'm not sure how much you know about them altogether, other than that, is it kind of less attractive for you when you see a season coming out that's all about stuff you're like, I kind of don't care about these characters all that much?
Yeah, like I look at these cards, these characters, and I feel nothing. Like they could be
Yeah,
from
like
a completely different IP, and I wouldn't know. Yeah, maybe they're like gonna do something big in the game that season to like boost it up, or maybe they'll save it to really capitalize on the Deadpool season. Yeah, this might be a slower one for them.
yeah, and if I'm them, like this card here, okay, the Arishem, right? 7/7 at the start of the game, +1 max energy, shuffle 12 random cards into your deck. So to me, I've said this before, this is draft mode. If anybody wanted a draft mode in Snap, here you go. That's essentially what this is. But this looks like it's going to be at least a fun card. Like for folks like yourself who stream, right? You stream the game. This might be just something at one point you might want to say, you know what, guys, we're just going to do a couple hours of Arishem stuff and just see how goofy this can get.
It'll depend. Like, you know, you get District X, like you're not happy.
That's
so like
very
Arishem
true.
is like District X every game, but
Yeah.
it's giving you like you still have your cards,
Right.
so it's giving you 12 extra cards,
Correct.
and then you're gonna play like Thanos as well, so you're gonna get another 6 cards. You're gonna be playing Hearthstone or something.
You were talking about Darkhawk. Darkhawk's going to feast on this card, man. People playing this, and you know that when this card comes out, people are going to play Darkhawk. They're for sure they're going to play it. So yeah, it just, I don't know. To me, it just kind of looks a little bit like, it just looks like fun. But if I were them, I would have started the season with this. I would have done this as the season pass. Here's your season pass.
The +1 max energy is like really cool.
Yeah. So I would have done this the beginning. I would have had this be a draw and be like, all right, here's your first card. This is going to be crazy, but enjoy it. And it's your season pass card. I would have started there. And instead, he's last. So he's literally going to, he's the last card of the month. So he's going to be out for a week before the Deadpool week, which then nobody's going to remember this card and play it probably. They're going to go right to the Deadpool stuff, and this card's going to get forgotten. Obviously that's data mine. Now it could change. They might change the order, but still, I would have done something exciting, especially for, like you were saying, a perfect example of a season that may not be so attractive to a lot of people simply because it's not a household name. They're not an Iron Man. They're not a Deadpool. They're not, you know what I mean? That people just don't know who these characters are. So yeah,
because like for us, like we're gonna buy the season pass either way, but I think there is like a decent amount of people out there who like do pick and choose what season passes to buy.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I said, not everybody's in the same situation financially, and people that are playing that, are playing mostly free to play. They have to look down the road. They see these data mines and they're like, okay, this looks really cool. In July, I'm a big Deadpool fan. I want to go see the films and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to get that season pass because I want the variants and everything like that. So yeah, no, you're 100% right. Absolutely right. So I don't know. To me, this was just a little bit of a bad move, I think, on their part. I think I would have started with the more fun card, necessarily not go into all the other ones that people may just not know. So, and to be fair, go ahead.
Maybe they weren't expecting like people to actually like the sound of this card.
Maybe. Yeah, that could very well be. Or, you know what I was thinking too, is maybe they think he's going to be, I don't not necessarily think they'll think he's broken, but maybe they didn't really want the people to play with him for very long. And just kind of see like where it goes. So maybe it was one of those things where, well, if this turns out to be really weird and someone figures out something really weird with this and all those extra cards, could you imagine Blob? Oh my God. If Blob used to be what he was before. We'd have like a 90 power Blob.
Yeah. You put Arishem, Thanos, and High Evo in your deck, and you're just sitting watching animations at the start of the game for like 3 minutes.
people complaining, oh, these animations won't stop. Oh my gosh, yeah. But maybe that's why. Maybe they wanted to.
Yeah,
Maybe they
because I think
wanted
there's
to.
also like an animation with Darkhawk right at the start of the game where if he's in your opening hand, he like has this animation when your opponent draws their first cards for their starting hand. So like if they're adding 12 cards to their deck at the start of the game, like are you gonna be sitting there with a little effects going off before you can even start playing as well if you've got Darkhawk?
Oh, God forbid. Yeah, right. With all those cards that he's given you. Oh man, dude. Yeah, that would be horrible. People would be complaining about that, no doubt, for sure. So I want to get into this a little bit with you too. This is kind of a fun thing. So everybody wants to see Captain America buffed, right? He's a card that everybody wants to see get a little love. He's such a popular character. This is a variant, of course, that's coming out soon. But what are some cards in the game that you just would really love as a Marvel fan or just as a fan of Snap to get some love? Cap, I know that they've said he's a starter card. They don't want to mess with him necessarily, but man, he's just a big character in Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think he really needs some attention. But yeah, what are some cards that you would like to see maybe given like a little bit of a boost or a little bit of a buff?
Maybe like Spider-Man.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
Spider-Man might be at the point now where it's like not quite enough.
Okay.
I don't know what series Spider-Man is though, actually.
I think he's I'm trying to think back. I think he's series 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's series 3. I could be wrong, but I think he's series 3.
They're not like they don't totally shut down the idea of like buffing these early cards. But with cards like Captain America, like when you first start playing the game, like he's like a good card. So
Yeah.
I guess they have to be careful like how they buff this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's cards like him, like other characters I can think of, like a card like Elektra. Elektra's such a cool character, like in the Daredevil, obviously in the films that they did on Netflix, and then of course the comic books as well. Sure, she's good. She'll come out and snipe that Sunspot or Nebula or something for you, but like nobody plays her. So yeah, it's just there's some cool cards I think that can use some love, and I just Cap is just such a polarizing figure in the MCU and in the films that people thinking just needs something, right? Give him I don't know, give him a couple points of power, make him a 3/5,
make him like Muir Island, like give +1 at the end of every turn.
There you go. I'd be all right with that. I was even saying
that might be overpowered.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was even thinking of something like where he throws the shield. Now you see the shield throw on your own lane, but maybe he throws it across all three, and maybe he'll do something to all three lanes. I don't know. I don't know how they could do it, but yeah, I'd love to see some sort of buff for Cap at least, or something going on down the road. So, all right. So I want to get into this a little bit with you here too. So, as a game overall, I mean, you've been playing now since the start, right? So you've been playing since the start of the game. What are some of the things that you as a player and also as a content creator, because you have your own community and stuff like that, and I'm sure that they have asked this of you too. What are some of the things you would like to see come to Marvel Snap? So they're talking about game modes and stuff like that. Do you have a particular game mode you want to see? I know people are asking for a draft maybe, or something else, but and then also we've got, it looks like we're going to get alliances soon too, right? So what are your thoughts like on that as well? So tell me something you would like to see in the future, and then maybe give some of your thoughts on alliances. Being a content creator, I'm thinking to myself, that may be a little bit difficult. Like, if people in your community want to join an alliance of yours, it's going to be hard to choose, especially if they're going to limit that to 25 per whatever. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on both of those topics.
For something to add to the game, I'd like to see like more long-term challenges. Like they've got their dailies and their weeklies and stuff. I'd like to see like long-term stuff, like play certain cards this many times, get Deadpool to whatever power, stuff that just is like persistent over multiple seasons that you can work towards to get like extra resources and stuff. I'd like to see that personally more than a new game mode.
Okay. All right. And then yeah, so and then the alliances thing. Like what do you think of what do you think of alliances? Is there anything like in particular you'd like to see from that? I know we were talking about like having a way for players to communicate a little bit with each other, like whether that be like just messages within the alliance or something like that. I see coming from Magic, especially where I used to go like to physical tournaments and stuff. I think that's a thing that's missing a little bit in some of these mobile games. It's kind of nice to see who you're playing sometimes, get to know the person just a little bit, you know, across from them face to face. And of course, we don't get that in Snap or in any other digital game. So, what would you like to see like out of alliances?
I'd like to see them just raise the cap, honestly, because like 20, like I think they should just raise the cap and then have scaling challenges and rewards depending on like how big the group is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I know you can. There's a gold amount where you can start that, so you can probably make several. Well, there's probably going to be a lot of news that's going to come out about them and let us know what it's going to be exactly, because you know whether or not you can make more than one, or whether you can be in more than one, or however that's gonna be. So, I know you talked about tournaments earlier. How is the tournament scene where you are? Do you did you play in a lot of tournaments and stuff over there?
Mostly, I think it's mostly right now. It's like all Snap Judgments League stuff,
Oh, nice. Okay, so
pretty
you're playing in the
much.
league. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
and there's been a couple other ones. I played in the Snap Team League that was by Fullest A.
Oh
I
yeah,
was on
yeah.
Tucker's team for that. Tucker and the Suckers. That was us.
That's a cool team name. I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's the official name, definitely.
there you go. Yeah, listen, I enjoy the league stuff. I mean, I
Yeah.
had fun the first one that was out. I went 2-2. I lost my first two games, won the second two. But it was cool because, like I was saying earlier, I got to meet new people. And even in that little bit of a time that you're discussing, you know, getting the game together, and you know, maybe after you play, you might chat for a little bit of time. It was kind of cool. I met some people that I probably never would have talked to before, so I kind of thought that was a neat thing, and I hope they continue them. I know. You're in the league now, the new one?
Yep.
Nice,
Yep.
nice.
I'd
How
been
did you?
playing in a bunch of like they do the King of the Hill tournaments as well. I was playing in a bunch of those,
Oh
and
yeah.
there was another there's a Pursuit Gaming League that started up as well, which is similar to Snap Judgments, but instead of playing one match a week, you're playing like a best of 3 every week.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was a bit much. Like I lost in the second week, and I just felt like I should probably just drop because it's a lot of time. Um, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, mostly all just the Snap Judgments League stuff that I've been playing in. I was even like, I felt like I was playing in too many tournaments. Like I felt like I was getting a bit burnt out.
Yeah, I
Because
could see that.
you play in so many, and then there's just more opportunities for you to lose. And when you lose in a tournament, like for me, like, you know, I think about it a lot and stuff about what I did wrong. And so when you're playing in more tournaments, you have more situations like that, and it's like harder to just like let things go. So I just had a bit of a break from tournaments the past week, just waiting on or a couple of weeks ago now, waiting on the Snap Judgments League starting up again.
Yeah, yeah. I played my first game in this month's. I played with that ongoing deck, and I won my first match. And I have my other one coming up this week. Yeah, I could see what you're coming from, because yeah, if you get in on those weekend ones a lot, and then I know that they had the Grand Prix where you literally had
Yeah.
to play like for 2 straight days or for almost an entire one day. And while I would have loved to join, my work schedule just doesn't allow it. I can't
The
because
same for me. I can't play in the weekend mission and the weekend tournaments.
yeah, I would like to do it, but I just couldn't do it. I would love to get
Yep.
into one of those, but that's a lot of time. Like you were saying, that takes up a lot of your time. And
Yeah.
you know, I think they're gonna go, from what I've talked to Gunny and Glazer, I think they're gonna probably not necessarily do that anymore, because they just realize that a lot of people just can't, because of, you know, their life situations. They just can't be there for that amount of time. So awesome stuff. Yeah, man. What do you? So, lastly, I want to finish up here. how do you think the future looks for this game? I mean, I just put out a poll. I don't know if you saw it on my Twitter, but I put out a poll yesterday. Um, there was things a little bit disconcerting to me recently because as we started the show talking about, I watch a lot of stuff with Snap. I try to get ideas from different people. I watch, certain creators I like to watch because they're just either entertaining or they're on at certain times of the day that I can just sit down and watch. But I have seen and I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I have seen over the past like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or maybe even a little longer than that, some of the people who were putting out regular content and like maybe a video on a certain day or this or that are not doing it anymore. So and of course now there's there's always going to be in gaming a next big thing, right? You're always going to have something that's going to come down the pike. And a lot of the Marvel fans are now looking at Marvel Rivals because obviously that's new. It's a Overwatch type game that a lot of people enjoy playing. I'm not a thing for that. I've never really been able to play games like that. I have motion sick issues, so I can't play stuff like that. But I know a lot of people love it. So yeah, what do you think that the future of Snap is? Is it, do you see things like down the road where, like it's got a bright future? Do you think there's some things that maybe it needs to do to maybe change up a little bit? So like, yeah, what are your thoughts on the future of Marvel Snap?
Gameplay wise, I've been enjoying the game more recently than I was like over the winter. And I think they're doing better at like not releasing really busted cards or cards like releasing stuff like Gladiator, where it's a good card but then like nobody really knows it and then they buff it and it's like, oh, missed out. I think it mostly for me just comes down to like monetization. I've kind of felt like even though they have brought in some features that are like better, like the free upgrade stuff, the booster shop thing. Yeah. Like that's a really great addition. But I think there is this also feeling like every new feature they come out with has a price tag attached to it, and like, are people going to start feeling like they're getting priced out of the game? And they say they can't change the rewards because the economy can't handle it, but then over the next however many months they just like keep adding new ways for you to spend money. Yeah, because I know people say like, oh, it's just cosmetics don't really matter, but like I think they do matter. Like it didn't always used to be the way of you buy cosmetics. Like there is a sense of like earning something, like your infinite card backs, like they mean something. And you beat someone with all default variants, it's not the same as beating them with sick variants. So I think for me it just comes down to like the monetization side of it, which I think like I don't try to be too negative. I think it's fine most of the time. But yeah, like gameplay wise I think it's pretty good right now, and I think they'll keep it nice and balanced and stuff going forward. I don't expect to see like the old Shuri metas, the Galactus metas, even the Loki metas. Like I don't expect to see a lot of that type of stuff last so long. Yeah,
my boy Galactus is never going to come back to maybe when the Fantastic Four movie comes out next year, maybe they'll throw something his way, since he's actually going to be in a film and not be a cloud. So yeah, that.
Yeah, I pulled that from reserves as well at like 1500 collection level or something.
I did too. Like, Galactus. Same here.
This.
That's what I said. I say that all the time. I'm like, when I first got that card, I popped that open from a reserve when they first announced the big bads, and I'm like, I wanted Thanos really badly because I'm a big fan of Thanos too. But I popped him out of the cache, and I'm looking at it. I'm reading the text, and I'm like, this card sucks. Like, why would I want this card? I don't want to blow up the other locations if I'm. And little did I know, there's Spider-Man sits where you can shut down your opponent's other turn and have them do nothing. And I'm like, oh man, if I would have only.
Yeah, it used to be way too easy.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. So, Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's listen, I love the game. I know that many others do like yourself, for many different reasons. And for me it's the IP. I've always been a big Marvel fan. I've loved it since I was a little kid, and that's why I love seeing certain cards come into the game that like Man Thing for me was a huge Man Thing fan since I was like 7 years old. And seeing him get into the game and all these different variants and stuff like that. Like you were talking about some of the variants too. Like the variants are getting it just, oh my gosh, they're just getting better and better. These comic book cover ones that they've been coming out with lately, oh, I love them because I
Yeah.
own a lot of those books. So
Yeah, and with the custom card changes as well, where you can have like you can keep the animation and put different effects on different variants and stuff like that's another really good thing they've done recently.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so guys, that if there's anything to take from this, I know there's a lot of, I mean, listen, there is, especially on the hellscape that I call Twitter, and there's a lot of negativity there, a lot of the times, unfortunately, and but I hope that from this conversation I've had with JD today, and also my podcast earlier, that you get the impression that it's not all doom and gloom. It's there's people out there that really love this game. We do it because we love it for many, many different reasons. And so I hope that's a good takeaway from our discussion. So, JD, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Shout out again where people can find you and check you out on your streams.
Yeah, JD McDonaldinho on Twitter and Twitch. It's the first time I've ever like said that out loud. My internet name. It sounds so weird. But yeah, it's my first podcast, so I'm sure I'll be going on a world tour soon.
There you go. You'll be on many
everything.
more now. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Hey, you can now say that I started on Joe's show. So hey,
Yeah.
when you get big and stuff like that, don't forget about me, man.
Yeah, well, I've been listening to your show for a while now. Like, yeah, I remember tweeting out about your shows like I'd never heard about it before, and yeah, I listened to it all the time. You put out so many episodes. It's great for me on my night shifts.
You know what? It's crazy. When I started this, I'm like, I don't know. I just did this on a whim, and I started one or two, but now, yeah, people come on. I have a couple guests now. Yeah, I know. Glazer busts me about that all the time. He's like, dude, you do like a show every single day. I'm like,
Yeah,
and
you're like for podcasts what he is for YouTube videos.
and so, yeah, I'm like, I always call him. I said, dude, you're the hardest working man at Snap. And he's like, no, wait a minute. I don't put out as much content as you do. I'm like, well, what? I just enjoy it, man. I've had this in my blood. Like all of I was when I was growing up, I went to school for journalism. And I was also a radio station DJ back in the day when those still existed. So I love this. And I actually really, it's hilarious because some of the people have been on my show. Lauren was on my show. I've gotten to know her pretty well. She said to me, she's like, you do more shows than you play Snap. And I said, you're probably right. But I love talking to people about the game like yourself. I just love chatting about it with people. And yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you listening to the show and checking it out. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on. You're welcome to come back anytime. And
Thanks
yeah,
very much.
I hope you get on that world tour, man. Some people start checking you out. So yeah, let's go. But yeah, man, thank you so much, guys. We're going to wrap it up here. That's it for us for today. Again, thank you so much to JD for joining me and coming on the show. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Hey, today's Sage Day. Whether you're going to get the card.
Trying it out right now.
There you go. He's going to go get it right now as we speak. Yeah, whether you're going to get it, enjoy the card. Have a great time with it for the week. Enjoy the rest of your week in Snap. And hopefully I will talk to you again on the next one. Please stay safe. Always be kind to one another, especially on Twitter. And hopefully I will talk to you again on the next one. Guys, take care. This is your Snap DJ signing off.